Shalom from Israel to all of the Daystar viewers around the world. I'm Moshe Bar Tzvi, the producer and founder of Israel Now News. We at Israel Now News are dedicated to bringing you the full story and the truth about Israel from Israel. It's written in the Holy Bible when David said in Psalm 25:5, "Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long." And God says in Zechariah 8:16, "These are the things that you shall do. Speak out the truth to one another. Judge with truth and judgment to peace in your gates. And always search for the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8:31. I hope you enjoyed the program. God bless you from Jerusalem. Shalom, shalom.
Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, the European Union has ended its arms embargo on the Syrian opposition. After lengthy negotiations, the EU has decided to keep all sanctions against the Syrian regime in place, but to lift the weapons embargo against the Syrian opposition forces. EU members said this will level the playing field between the regime of Bashar al-Assad and the embattled opposition. This move also sends a strong message to Russia, who has been supplying Assad with weapons. Britain and France pushed hard to end the embargo, and both countries were reportedly pleased with the outcome of the negotiations. British Foreign Secretary William Hague said, "While we have no immediate plans to send arms to Syria, it gives us the flexibility to respond in the future if the situation continues to deteriorate."
The Israeli cabinet met last week to discuss the efforts of U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry to restart peace negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. The Palestinian Authority has repeatedly refused to negotiate with Israel unless it is guaranteed a state within the 1967 borders with Jerusalem as its capital. More than 500,000 Jews live in the heartland of Judea and Samaria, and Israel views a withdrawal to the 1967 lines as indefensible. Israeli officials from all sides of the political spectrum have discussed the issue, and addressing the Knesset Forum, Cabinet Minister Uzi Landau quoted former Foreign Minister Abba Eban, who described the pre-Six-Day War lines as Auschwitz borders, asking what country would withdraw to borders that it cannot protect. Economics and Trade Minister Naftali Bennett said that the concept of giving up land has failed and that every time Israel withdrew from areas, thousands of people were killed. Bennett spoke about changing the government's approach to negotiations with the Palestinians and asked for a declaration that this is Israeli land and it is not for sale.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry was in Jordan last week to promote a $4 billion investment campaign to stimulate the Palestinian economy. Inspired by a group of 300 Palestinian and Israeli businessmen, the initiative is being described as a groundbreaking plan for the Palestinian economy. Kerry called the collaborated effort more transformative than incremental and different than anything we have tried before. He said the hope is to mobilize $4 billion of investment in the West Bank in tourism, construction, light manufacturing, building materials, and information technology, among other fields. He went on to say that the preliminary results are stunning, and he estimated that the gross domestic product of the West Bank would increase by 50% in 3 years, and unemployment will be cut by 2/3. He added that tourism could triple and construction could add 100,000 jobs. This forum is an excellent example of the benefits that the Palestinian people could reap if they were willing to live in peace with Israel.
The United Nations has long been accused of holding an anti-Israel agenda, and earlier this month, the director of the organization's Relief and Works Agency, Ann Dismore, was photographed at the launch of a German-funded project in southern Lebanon holding a map of the region where Israel was completely removed and replaced with an entity called Arab Palestine alongside the flag of the Palestine Liberation Organization. Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Ron Prosor, filed a complaint with UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon over the incident, saying that even though Israel supports UNRWA's important humanitarian work, actions that encourage incitement, conflict, and ultimately violence undermine that mission. Prosor added that it is unacceptable that an international organization like UNRWA, that should be neutral, could be party to provocation that seeks to erase Israel from the map.
Iran claims to have added a massive number of long-range missile launchers to its weapons arsenal. These devices are capable of firing surface-to-surface missiles rapidly. At a press conference, the Iranian defense minister insisted that the arsenal of missile launchers was meant for defensive purposes. He quickly added that Iran would respond harshly to any aggression and make their enemies regret such an attack.
Two of the suspects in the deadly 1994 bombing of a Jewish community center in Buenos Aires have entered the presidential race in Iran. The Islamic Republic's Guardian Council approved 8 candidates hoping to succeed Mahmoud Ahmadinejad as president, including Mohsen Rezai and Ali Akbar Velayati, who are suspected of involvement in the terror attack that left 85 people dead and 300 others wounded. An active arrest warrant is out for Rezai from Interpol, which also issued red notices to impede international travel for both suspects.
Louis Farrakhan, the leader of the Nation of Islam, was hosted at a Detroit church last week. Farrakhan used the pulpit to spew anti-Semitic rhetoric and conspiracy theories. He said that the Jews are satanic and that the synagogue of Satan controls major U.S. institutions. Farrakhan accused U.S. President Barack Obama of surrounding himself with Satan, which he specified as members of the Jewish community. U.S. Congressman John Conyers and Detroit City Councilwoman Joanne Watson were in the audience. Neither objected to Farrakhan's hateful and incendiary remarks at the time, but following intense pressure from the Anti-Defamation League, Representative Conyers did apologize for attending the event.
The IDF has confirmed that a rocket fired toward northern Israel last week originated in Lebanon. Israel has been hit by innumerable rocket strikes from neighboring Syria as perceived spillover from fighting in the civil war, but this is the first time in recent months that missiles were fired toward Israel from Lebanon. Tensions have increased in Lebanon, where the Hezbollah terror organization controls large portions of the country and has been desperately engaged in a battle to keep Syrian President Bashar al-Assad in power. Anti-government rebels in Syria have vowed to retaliate for Hezbollah's involvement in the conflict. More on that story now from Yochanan.
2 rockets were fired into Hezbollah's stronghold in Beirut, Lebanon last week. 4 people were killed and dozens wounded in the attack. Syrian rebels have threatened Hezbollah with retaliation for their intervention in the Syrian civil war, and Hezbollah's leaders were quick to blame the Syrian opposition in the wake of the attack. Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, leader of the terrorist group, said his organization will continue to assist the Assad regime militarily, and in a televised interview on Lebanese TV, he vowed to fight the Syrian resistance until the end of the road, and he added that Hezbollah will also continue to fight against Israel.
The Red Cross has been criticized for its participation in a tree planting ceremony for terrorists. At a service marking the 150th anniversary of the International Committee of the Red Cross, representatives from the ICRC and its Islamic sister organization, the International Red Crescent, planted 150 trees for what they called veteran prisoners. These trees were named for some of the most vicious Palestinian terrorists who have been sentenced to serve life terms in Israeli prisons.
Jerusalem municipal firefighters were ambushed last week when they responded to an emergency call in the Arab village of Issawiyah. Mobs of Arabs stoned the firemen, injuring 2 of them, 1 seriously. Police and firefighters have long complained that when they enter Arab villages in the Jerusalem municipality, they are put in danger. EMTs have been instructed to wait for an army escort into villages before responding out of fear for their safety.
The Palestinian Independent Commission for Human Rights has released a report stating that 11 prisoners died in Palestinian-controlled detention centers last year. According to the report, 2 Palestinians died in detention centers in the Fatah-run Palestinian Authority, and 9 others died while in the custody of Hamas facilities based in the Gaza Strip.
A Jerusalem ballet company was awarded first place for a dance group in classical and modern ballet ensembles in St. Petersburg, Russia last month. 16 Israeli girls, ages 7 to 20, traveled to Russia to compete in the Young Russian Grand Prix 2013. Nearly all of them won prizes. The girls' ballet instructor spoke of their accomplishment, saying it was extremely emotional. The level of the other competitors was very high, and we worked hard for months preparing for this competition.
And that concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here in a beautiful day in Jerusalem on our rooftop studio. My guest today is member of Knesset, Dov Lipman. Dov, thank you for being on the show.
It's my pleasure. Very nice to be here.
Dov, you are a member of Knesset and a rabbi, and you're originally from America. You're actually the first American to be elected to Knesset in almost 30 years. How does that feel to have an American background and being a member of Knesset in Israel?
The first thing I have to say is that every single day we turn the corner and I see the building in front of me, the Knesset building, and I'm in awe. And I thank God for the opportunity that's been given to me, and I take it with real responsibility. And I try to take all the American values that I learned growing up in the States and put them into practice here in Israel.
How has it been that you were an Ole, you moved here from America, and you've been able to rise to this position? How have you been able to do that in a completely different language, a completely different culture?
The starting point has to be blessing from God above. It really is something which I can't pin on anything that I've done. It's not my talent, but it really is a blessing. Having said that, I think that I come from a very tolerant, unity-oriented background where we embrace all faiths and we embrace all people, and that's been my message on the campaign towards the Knesset, and that's my message in the Knesset.
You're also a rabbi and a spiritual leader. Being a rabbi, how does that affect your political stances on issues?
I certainly have to always take into account Jewish law and make sure that as legislation comes my way, I have someone who I bounce it off of, someone who's far more knowledgeable than I am, and try to make sure that we find that balance. That's the beauty of this country, is that we're talking about a Jewish and democratic country, and have to find the way to balance the two together.
You represent a party called Yesh Atid that just rocketed to 19 seats in the Knesset in the last election. What is the message of Yesh Atid? Why was it so successful with the population here?
What pulled me to Yesh Atid originally was the unity. The fact that we said we're breaking down barriers. It's no longer about an ultra-Orthodox party, a religious Zionist party, a secular party, a Russian party, but it's time for all of us to start working together. 65 years, Israel has accomplished remarkable things. The one thing we haven't gotten right is the unity within, amongst the Jewish people and with other faiths within Israel. That has been the message of Yesh Atid. Let's do what's best for the entire country, and I think people heard the message.
Interfaith is also an important issue to you. You right away, when becoming a Knesset member, joined the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus, and you reach out to Christian communities around the world and trying to bridge that gap. Why is working with Christians such an important issue for you?
I grew up on the streets of Silver Spring, Maryland, playing ball together with people from all faiths, all races, all denominations, all backgrounds, and we all got together so well, and our strength, I think, came because of that unity. I recognize the support of the Christian community for Israel, how important it is for us, and actually I'd say how important it is for the Christian community. I think that we share so many values and have to work together, so as soon as I became a member of Knesset, I said, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of helping bring that Christian support, but also giving back to the Christian community as well.
You know, now that you're a member of Knesset for several months, what are some of the main issues that you're facing?
We're dealing with many issues within the Knesset. First of all, trying to create that unity, bring all Jews in Israel to work towards a common cause, and then bring all citizens of Israel towards a common cause. And that's a challenge. People are not prepared for that. It's different, but I believe in it 100%, and I'm already starting to see those walls coming down and trying to bring people together.
There's major security threats here in Israel today. There's threats on our northern border, on our eastern border, even on the western border. There's threats with Iran. What are some of the things that your party feels are the most important things to combat those threats?
The first thing we have to do, when I talk about bringing Israel back together, once we're strong as a people from within, with great education, a strong economy, strong values, then I know we can combat any issue from without. Sure, we have the threat from Iran, we have the instability in Syria, and we have to confront all of that, and we will, and we have a strong prime minister and a strong government will take care of that. But the stronger we are from within, the better equipped we are to deal with the struggles from without.
You know a lot about the American political system, representative government, checks and balances. In Israel, it's more of a party system. Do you think it'd be a great idea to bring some of those ideas from America, or do you think it works here for what we have in Israel?
I have to tell you that until I became a member of the Israeli parliament, I did not appreciate the wisdom of the founding fathers of the United States of America. The separation of powers, checks and balances, whatever flaws all the viewers might think there might be in that system of government, it's brilliant, and we do have to bring a lot of that system here to Israel, and that's part of our platform, and we've already started the process to do that.
Being the first American-born member of parliament in about 30 years, you've broken a lot of barriers. Do you believe that this will open up a new flow of American immigration, Americans who are trying to get into politics, things of that effect?
I want to address both issues. First of all, certainly to empower English-speaking immigrants to Israel to feel they can be part of the process and make a difference. I don't have perfect Hebrew. I don't get the total Israeli political culture, but yet I have my place, and we can all do that. And also, I do view myself as someone who can hopefully inspire far more aliyah, many more people moving to Israel, and I certainly want to use the platform of my seat in the parliament to get that done.
We see that the next big aliyah is coming from America. There are over 5 million Jews there, the second biggest population of Jews outside of Israel. What can we do in Israel to bring those American Jews to Israel?
Well, the first thing is to think about the magnitude of the time that we live in. Until now, all immigration to Israel has been people running away from something, running from something, from persecution. And now all of a sudden we can shift gears to running to something. Look at the remarkable country which has been built, an opportunity for Jews to live here. And that's the shift which even in Israeli politics, I think we have to work on, to shift it from aliyah being something where people are running away from something and shift gears to people running to something. And we can do a lot to try to educate the North American community about Zionism and living in Israel and inspire the youth to come here and run to something.
You know, you've made a lot of headlines for holding congressman hours, meeting with your constituents, talking to them. Why is that such a unique thing to do in Israel? Why isn't that the norm?
I can't explain why it's not the norm. I thought it was the norm. I don't think it's anything so special. I have a responsibility as a member of parliament to help a constituency, and we've sort of defined that constituency certainly as the English-speaking immigrants, my city of Beit Shemesh, and moderate ultra-Orthodox, and I certainly hope that many more members of parliament start doing the same.
Member of Knesset Dov Littman, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
I would want to tell them the following. I grew up being taught that Orlando is the Magic Kingdom, and it's just not correct. Today, just one quick anecdote. As a young kid in Silver Spring, Maryland, we demonstrated for Russian Jewry, Soviet Jewry at the Soviet Embassy, and one time I held a sign which said, "Free Yuli Edelstein," 13-year-old American kid. Today, decades later, I sit as a member of the Israeli parliament, and the speaker of that parliament is Yuli Edelstein, who we were demonstrating for. This is where magic happens. King David says that the return of Israel, the people of Israel to Israel, is like dreamers, hayinu kecholmim, it's a dream, and we have to believe that we can make Israel even better and be a light unto the nations. And I ask all of you to join us in that. Come visit Israel, support Israel, be our partners as we make this dream come true, and we light up the world with the Judeo-Christian ethic and a country which is built on those values.
Thank you, Member of Knesset Littman, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, shining light from Israel.
Shalom Israel, Shalom Technion.
It's my first time to Israel.
Extremely happy to be invited to come along with the Once in a Lifetime guys.
I always wanted to come to Israel because I heard that it's a very amazing place.
Glad to be here in Israel. I honestly never knew that Israel was so important or so impactful in terms of the world.
These bloggers were chosen because they are very influential bloggers. They have more than 2 million views each month in their blogs and in their websites.
We wanted to show them the innovative Israel.
We wanted to show new aspects about Israel to these bloggers and through the bloggers to their viewers, to their followers.
To explain to people what is really going on here and how we live here and how it's not all what they hear on the news.
Science has no borders, and the Technion is one of the top leading schools in Israel and in the world. They can see another side of Israel, one of the best sides.
So the role of science is to unveil the secrets of nature. So it's a beautiful engraving. You see here it's an old painting, and you see here science takes the veil off the face of nature. And that's the role of science, to discover the secrets of nature.
Holding the actual example of the Nobel Prize, that was actually pretty cool. Yeah, because I don't think I'll ever win a prize. So.
We are part of the Stem Cell Research Center of the Technion, and the Technion was a major player in human stem cells.
This place is amazing.
Of the first 10 papers that was published on stem cells, 7 of them came from Israel. So Israel is a big empire in stem cell research.
Already I'm just completely overwhelmed by how much is here and how much of the world revolves around what's created here. It's just amazing to think how much is coming out of just this one little place, and people need to know that sort of thing.
It's just absolutely incredible how they're able to kind of contribute that to the world when it's such a small country.
I believe there is a lot people can know about Technion, and I'm going to write about it more and more from now on.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
We are here at the International Convention Center in Jerusalem, and in just a few months from now, those seats which you see here in the back, they will be packed with thousands of pilgrims which are coming from all over the world to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles here in Jerusalem. The International Christian Embassy had the privilege to organize this feast over the last 34 years, and God was always faithful to bring pilgrims from more than 100 nations to the city of Jerusalem to celebrate Sukkot, to worship the God of Israel, but also to show the nation of Israel that we love them. Last year at Engedi, God surprised us at the opening ceremony with a mighty rushing wind. It became a life-changing experience for us all.
Last year's Engedi experience has changed my life forever. Friends, I have always dreamt to have an experience with God. I know it might even sound a bit selfish sometimes, but you know, God gives you the desires of your heart if you delight yourself in Him. Psalm 37 verse 4. And we literally, not just me, 4,500 plus delegates from all over the world experienced a rushing, mighty wind in a place that never gets wind hardly at all, and very rarely does it rain.
If you ask me what is so special about the Feast of Tabernacles, it's about two things. First of all, it's a powerful demonstration of solidarity and friendship to the Jewish people. But secondly, and most importantly, it's all about the presence of God. And let me tell you, over these last years, we saw powerful manifestations of God here in Jerusalem during the Feast of Tabernacles. And I want to invite you not to miss this year. The celebration of Sukkot is a harvest feast here in Israel. This year's theme of the Feast of Tabernacles is harvest, because we believe that we are living in a historic period of harvest. Never before in human history got so many people saved like in the time which we are living in. Come to Jerusalem, celebrate with us in God's presence the Feast of Tabernacles, and become equipped to become a more effective worker for God's harvest. I look forward to seeing you in Jerusalem. May the Lord bless you out of Jerusalem.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El Rome.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all your Israel updates.